In our last recording, we demonstrated the GitHub desktop client, and one of the things that I had talked about was creating concise commit messages and how it can kind of get out of control if you don't pay attention to what you're writing. And I really liked this comic here because it really demonstrates just kind of how we all work, even if we're not talking about commit messages. But you start out really good, created a main loop and timing control, and then as time goes on, you're like, more code, here, have more code, and it's like just pounding on the keyboard. It just gets worse and worse. So as time gets on, they get less and less informative. And we want to really avoid that. Your messages should be concise and they should be consistent. And here's an example of a well thought out commit message. So we're going to keep your summary pretty short. We're going to keep it to about 50 characters or less. And then you'll have a more detailed explanation. Now, this mentions wrapping it to about 72 characters. I think that's only going to matter if you're using GitHub from your command line. If you're using the GitHub desktop client, you're not going to really need to worry about that. They also mention how you really should have some space between things. Bullet points are good. You want to maybe include your issue tracking if you're doing any kind of ticketing systems or anything like that, or you're using maybe Jira, you can put your Jira numbers in there as well. You want to use imperative statements in the subject line, so fix broken Java doc. You want to begin your sentence with a capitalized verb such as add, prune, fix, introduce, avoid. You don't want to end the subject with a period, just leave it out. And you want to keep it pretty short and sweet, so 50 characters or less if it's possible. And then you're going to, as we talked about, mention your Jira issues if you have something like that. Anything, they recommend using a prefix with the word issue so that that makes sense as well. And then in the body of the commit message, you want to explain how things worked before you made that commit, what you changed, and then how it works now. So these are just, if you get in the habit of doing it this way, it's going to make a lot more sense for the people that you're working with or for yourself when you go back in and look at it. And I think we've all been there before where we've done something really sloppy. You just want to get it out the door and you go back in later and you're like, oh, why did I do this? You comment code well, you go back in and you're like, oh yeah, that's why I did this. If you don't comment your code or you don't comment it well, you're just kicking yourself because future you doesn't know what past you was thinking about whenever you did that, and it's just painful. So same thing here, and especially because you're likely to be working with other people or you're going to be talking to strangers who are looking at your project as an open source project and then want to fork it or whatever, it needs to be clear. So take the time to do that. So what does the online GitHub repository look like? You can just go to, well, after you've signed up, you can go to your own repository. This is an example of mine. I just took a screen capture of it because I figured in the future I'll be working offline for this presentation. So this is a screen capture of it. I'm not going to bother clicking around on it, but you'll get the main point of it here. So you can see you've got, this is my account here, and it shows what I'm doing. You've got code issue tracking if you do that, various pull requests, wiki, and then you've got your different statistics based on what people are doing with this particular project. So if people are forking it or whatever, you'll see all that on your different statistical settings here. You can see how many commits have happened, how many branches, releases, and how many contributors there are. And then here you'll see you've always got your standard README, and then this is an example repo that I did. Again, this is pretty just basic, but you can see here where you've got options for pull requests, like a new pull request. You've got your different new files and upload files. Here's where your URL is. You can download a zip of these files. So it's all right there. It's all pretty laid out pretty simply. If you're logged in and you want to watch other people's stuff, you can watch it here and see what's happening. People will fork it or whatever they're doing, and keep an eye on that as well. Just kind of keep up in its entirety with it, and it's all on this panel. Now this is just my one repository. You can look at many others, but this is the one that I was using for this particular demonstration. And since we're the Central Penn Adobe user group, I wanted to talk just briefly about Adobe on GitHub. They do have some open source projects available, and you can find them at adobe.github.io. One of the big ones that you'll find there is Brackets, and that is their open source code editor. It is supported by Adobe, but it is open source, so you can do whatever you want with it, download it or whatever you might want to do with it. And of course, Adobe being Adobe, not everything is open sourced because Adobe is not open sourcing Photoshop anytime soon, I'm sure. But they do have some projects that they've open sourced there, and you can take a look at them. It might be a nice introduction to GitHub and just kind of see what other companies are doing with that, especially big companies. And before we end here, I just wanted to leave you with some resources. These are some things that I used for this particular presentation, things that I found to be really helpful. Got some things for Git for designers on Medium. This is really like just to get you familiar, especially if you're not a coder and you want to kind of get comfortable with using Git. Getting started with version control. iThemes training, their stuff is great all around, but they have a working with GitHub presentation that was helpful. It's a little outdated at this point, but the principles are the same, so it's nice if you want a quick primer on it. Then of course GitHub itself, they have different reference materials that you can use there, and I found them to be quite nice, quite easy to read, and just truly helpful. I know sometimes you get reference stuff and it's like, ugh, why am I reading this? But it was quite good. They even have a Git, again, not GitHub, Git crash course online that you can try. So it's just try.github.io, and it walks you through how to use it. It's pretty cool, it's pretty clever, and I found it to be really helpful as well, so hopefully you will too. Then how to set up GitHub. If you want to kind of take it to the next level, I'd recommend maybe using GitHub and taking a look at Adobe Brackets, and then you've got various Brackets extensions and Git-related extensions. This is a YouTube video here. And you can also check out githut.info for some more stuff to explore. And before we sign off here, I wanted to mention a security alert that came to my attention this morning. Basically, there's an outdated Git version on OS 10 that puts developers at risk. That's as of today, which is April 20th, 2016. You can find out more information about this particular vulnerability at macworld.com. Just take a look at it before you decide to upgrade anything. Apparently Xcode, if you load it to your Mac, is going to have a version that is insecure, that's got some holes in it. And right now, we have to wait for Apple to patch it. So just know that if you're looking at this presentation after it's been out for a while, make sure you check and make sure that that patch was set up and that you're using that patch as well. In the meantime, they're kind of recommending to just not upgrade, which stinks, but that's where we're at. So on that note, thank you. If you have any questions, you could hit me up at Twitter. I'm at cpaug, C-P-A-U-G, or you can email me even at cpaugmanager@gmail.com. Thanks, and I hope you found this helpful.